Greetings, everyone, and again, this is Attorney Anthony Reeves, and welcome to another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. I'm going to be talking to you about a few things, as always, but as I like to make to a point to your attention, if you want to check out any of my previous posts where I've talked about a lot of different Social Security topics, visit legalbeat.anthonyreeves.com. That's my blog. Or if you have any questions for me, just hit me up at www.reevesfirm.com. Got two particular questions that were posed to me, and they're both questions that are going to require a little bit of discussion, so please bear with me. I'm going to go in reverse order, so please kind of be patient as I'm doing this. The first question is, if I have a disability and I am thinking about going back to work, will the employer look at me differently when I apply? Okay. Most people are fully aware that when you're applying for Social Security disability benefits, you're going to get more money working than you will be from getting disability. If you've been receiving disability for a while, there may be this concern that a prospective employer may quote unquote discriminate against you or look upon you unfavorably because you've been receiving disability benefits. Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you that every employer is the same. I will tell you that the law requires employers to not discriminate against an individual based, among other things, upon the fact that they have a disability. Now, people are people, meaning, are there going to be some employers out there that might look at you a little differently because of your condition? Absolutely. But that could be said the same for a woman. It could be the same for a minority. It could be the same for a man. It could be the same for a woman. You can't go in there with the thought process that because you have this disability, that the employer is automatically going to look at you unfavorably. That's the first thing. I know it's easy to think that, especially if you've been on disability for a while and you go and you fill out an application or you turn in the resume and the employer notes that there's been a number of years that you have not been working. You're now concerned that you have to explain why you weren't working during that period of time. But you can also use that to your advantage. What do I mean by that? Well, you can say that, you know what, I was on disability benefits, or I'm currently on disability benefits, but I'm trying to reintegrate myself back into the workforce. I believe that I can perform my job with certain accommodations, meaning if you know that, for instance, you're a person that has a very bad back and you need the ability to sit down and stand up where as long as it's in place, most employers may be able to accommodate that as long as you can perform the job satisfactorily while you're on your location. If you have a visual impairment that requires some type of protective screen on your computer module, most employers will accommodate that. Don't allow yourself to believe that an employer is not going to accommodate you. Now, I need you not to. I'm not going to sit here and have you believe this is Alice in Wonderland. Are there some dirtbag employers out there that will take advantage and just look at you badly because you're on a disability? Absolutely. That's going to happen regardless. People, if they want to find a reason not to hire you, they don't need much excuse. But it's important for you to remember one very crucial point. You can't control how they look at you. You can't control how they treat you, but you can control how you present yourself. If you know that you have a disability, but you're trying to go back out in the workforce, no one's telling you that you got to walk through the door and slap your disability papers on their desk and say, I have a disability and don't treat me wrong. But at the same instance, if you go into a workplace and you know that you have the ability to provide to that employer, stand tall. And if they ask about the gap of employment and you know you've been on disability, of course, it's the decision to reveal that is totally up to you. But don't sit here and have this fear that the moment you mention that you were on disability, they're going to treat you unfavorably. Don't do that. Because if you do that, you'll never get a job because you'll always have that little bit of paranoia that every employer is out to not hire you because you have a disability. Don't look at it like that. Like I said, there are a lot of employers out there, and there are a lot of state agencies. Every state has an agency whose responsibility is to work with employers who are working with people with disability. Like for instance, in Florida, God, I'm shit. We have the Agency for Persons with Disability. There's actually a nonprofit organization that works with individuals who have disabilities. And for those of you who are wanting to get back in the workforce and you're looking for that agency for your state equivalent, if you send me an email or a post here on my YouTube, I'll make sure I send that to you because I have that information I don't have it right in front of me, but I used to be on a board of director for one of these type of organizations, so I can tell you they exist to help you out. Okay? Now, second question. Will my children get disability benefits if I am awarded disability benefits? And do the children have to be with me? Very good question. Now, when you're applying for disability as an adult, there are typically two types of programs that most people fall under. It's either one as an insured worker and one is what we call SSI, which is a welfare-based program. For purposes of children's benefits, and it's not even what they call children's benefits, it's called a family allowance. That falls under the insured workers provision, or we call disability insurance benefits. So let's say you worked for a number of years, which is 20 out of the last it's 20 out of the last 40 quarters, or basically 5 out of the last 10 years. You've paid into the system. What usually will happen is when they send you those nice little award letters and so forth, it tells you how much you're entitled to if you're found disabled. Well, if you're found disabled, they usually also have an additional dollar amount that's called the family allowance. It's usually about $200 to $300 more that is provided to you as a result of having children under the age of 18. Now, the nice part about it is that that family allowance follows the children. Listen carefully when I say this. The family allowance portion typically follows the children. So keep this in your back of your mind. So if you've got a minor child that's living with you, then they'll give the family allowance typically to you. So let's say, for instance, you're entitled to receive $1,000 per month, and then maybe an extra $200 to $300 comes for a family allowance. Well, that comes to you. Well, let's say that you're divorced, and your children are living with the custodial parent, and you don't have the children. Are you going to get that extra $200 to $300? No. That extra $200 to $300 is going to be directed towards where the children are. So as long as you're getting it, your children will get the family allowance. Here's the other kick, and I need people to make sure you're aware of this. If you're getting SSI, Supplemental Security Income, there is no family allowance. So if you get SSI, your children don't get benefits as a result of you getting SSI. So keep those two things in mind. All right, everybody. I hope these things helped you out. As always, I welcome all of your comments and your questions. Please make sure you send me any more comments that you want me to address, and I'll address them weekly as I always do. And as always, if you want more information, hit me up at www.reevesfirm.com. Keep an eye out on my website over the next couple of weeks because I'm going to be making some really radical changes to it. And I think you'll be very impressed. Also, keep an eye on my blog, legalbeat.anthonyreeves.com. I think you'll be very happy with that as well. I welcome all comments and questions. And most importantly, if I cover a topic that I didn't cover it in enough detail, please, by all means, make sure you let me know. Like, hey, Attorney Reeves, about a couple weeks ago you addressed this, but you didn't really talk about this portion. Could you go over that, please? And I'll be more than happy to do so. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay out of trouble. And as always, this has been your Q&A, Social Security Disability Today.